wrestling collectible needs. Check them out. They got figures, DVDs, cards, t-shirts, and even tickets to local independent wrestling circuits. They have that and so much more. Look, sitting here listening to me talk about it does not do it justice. Go check it out for yourself. The Funkenstein Wrestling Superstore in the Englishtown Flea Market, Green Building, booth number 35. Also, check them out on Facebook at facebook.com/FunkensteinINC. And tell them Coach Kev sent you.
This is former WWE superstar The Patriot, and you're listening to Damage 365 Radio. Do not touch that dial. USA, USA, USA.
The following announcement has been paid for by the New World Order.
Yo, welcome back after that short commercial break. As I mentioned prior to the break, we're going to be looking at some firsts in sports, baseball, basketball, football, and hockey. And this was inspired, by the unfortunate passing of Nate Thurmond. Now, Nate Thurmond was actually the first player in NBA history to record a quadruple double. That's at least 10 points, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, a combination of 4 of the 5. That's what quadruple double, getting 2 digits in 4 of those categories. Nate Thurmond did it on October 18th, 1974, as a member of the Chicago Bulls against the Atlanta Hawks. His final stat line for the game: 22 points, 14 rebounds, 13 assists, and 12 blocks. So he obviously did it pretty easily. The only instance where it was steals instead of blocks, Alvin Robertson. And besides those two, it's only been done 3 other times. Hakeem Olajuwon did it twice. And the most recent, over 22 years ago, David Robinson, the Admiral, as a member of the Spurs, on February 17th, 1994. So it's only been done 5 times in NBA history. Hasn't been done in 22 years. And Nate Thurmond was the first player to, record a quadruple double in a game. Awesome statistic. So as I mentioned, that inspired me to do this whole list of firsts in sports. We'll start with hockey. The first 8-point game for a player was by Rocket Richard, Maurice Richard, on December 28th, 1944, as a member of the Montreal Canadiens. Had 5 goals and 3 assists in a 9-1 win over the Detroit Red Wings. That year he had 50 goals and 23 assists in 50 games, 965 career points, was elected into the Hall of Fame in 1961. 13 times in regular season history, we have seen a guy score at least 8 points, with the NHL record being 10 points. That was done by Darryl Sittler on February 7th, 1976. 5 goals in a game. The first player to do that was Joe Malone on December 19th, 1917. He actually started that season with 14 consecutive games with a goal. That's actually the second longest streak still in NHL history. For his career, he has 126 goals in 143 games. Was elected into the Hall of Fame in 1950. A player has scored at least 5 goals 55 times in regular season history, and the record also by Joe Malone. He scored 7 on January 31st, 1920. So those are some firsts in hockey. Let's take a look at football now. The first 500-yard passing game was done by Norm Van Brocklin, then a member of the Los Angeles Rams, on September 18th, 1951. It was against the New York Yanks. No, not the New York Yanks with Lou Gehrig, Joe DiMaggio. This was a football team. Norm Van Brocklin finished the game 27 for 41 for 554 yards and 5 touchdowns in a 54-14 win. That is still an NFL record today. Here we are, about 65 years later, and that is still the NFL record. 18 times a player has thrown for 500 yards in a regular season game. Van Brocklin was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1971, and he had 23,611 career passing yards. The first player to rush for 250 yards in a game, a name probably none of you have heard of, Spec Sanders, in December 24th, 1947, for those aforementioned New York Yanks. Against the Chicago Rockets, the Yanks won 28-7. Sanders finished the game with 24 carries for 250 yards. A player did not reach the 250 rushing yard threshold again until 26 years later in 1973, when O.J. Simpson was able to perform the feat. It has been done 13 times in regular season history, and the most ever. Adrian Peterson of the Minnesota Vikings had 296 rushing yards on November 4th, 2007. The first player to have 300 receiving yards in a game, Jim Benton, on November 22nd, 1945, as a member of the Cleveland Rams against the Detroit Lions. The Rams won the game 78-71. Wow. In the game, Benton finished with 10 catches for 303 yards and a touchdown with a long of 70. The 300 receiving yard mark has been reached 5 times. Benton and then also Cloyce Box had 302 on December 3rd, 1950. Stephon Page got over 300 yards on December 22nd, 1985. The most recent was Calvin Johnson, who had 329 with the Lions on October 27th, 2013. That's the second most ever, because the most ever is Flipper Anderson, 336 as a member of the Los Angeles Rams. Did it on November 26th, 1989. So those are some NFL firsts. Let's take a look at some Major League Baseball first, starting with the first no-hitter ever recorded in the history of baseball. It was done by Joe Borden. He was a member of the Philadelphia White Stockings, and he performed the feat on July 28th, 1875. Now, he threw the first ever no-hitter. Did the guy have a successful career? Not really. He only pitched 2 seasons and finished with a 13-16 record. Despite the very brief career, that first no-hitter was not his only feat, because he was also the winning pitcher in the first National League game in 1876. So for a guy, who had such a short Major League career, he sure is in the record book. Twice. Not really expected for a guy with a 13-16 career record who pitched 2 seasons. But he's there. The first 4 home run game. No one has ever hit 5 still. But the first 4 home run game was Bobby Lowe with the Boston Bean Eaters on May 30th, 1894. He did it against the Cincinnati Reds, 4 home runs. Did he have a very strong, successful career? Also, not really. because he only had 71 career home runs. 4 home run games have been performed 16 times in baseball history. Baseball history. The most recent, Josh Hamilton, a little over 4 years ago, on May 8th, 2012. It's been done by 5 Hall of Famers: Willie Mays, Mike Schmidt, Chuck Klein, Lou Gehrig, and Ed Delahanty. So again, not a feat that doesn't happen very often, and no one has broken Bobby Lowe's record. They have just tied it. The first 20 strikeout game for a pitcher in Major League history. Now I'm going to start with a game that actually went into extra innings. So a lot of people don't count it, but Tom Cheney actually has the Major League record for most strikeouts in a game. He had 21 strikeouts as a member of the Washington Senators on September 12th, 1962. But he got those 21 strikeouts in 16 innings. That doesn't make it as spectacular a feat as someone who did it in 9 innings. Still, he was the first guy to throw 20 strikeouts in a game, regardless of how many innings he pitched. Again, not a very successful career otherwise. Only had 345 strikeouts in his career. But the first to do it in a 9-inning game was Roger Clemens. He did it on April 29th, 1986, as a member of the Boston Red Sox against the Seattle Mariners. They won 3-1, the Red Sox, and Clemens threw 20 strikeouts. Of course, he had a successful career. Look past the PEDs. Still had 4,672 strikeouts in his career. It's happened 3 times since in 9-inning games. Randy Johnson actually did it. Threw 20 strikeouts in 9 innings, but the game went into extra innings. He did not pitch those extra innings. But Clemens also did it one other time, and it was also done by Kerry Wood with the Chicago Cubs and Max Scherzer this year with the Washington Nationals. So again, not exactly a feat that has happened very often. And lastly, let's look at some firsts in the NBA. I already mentioned Nate Thurmond being the first player to record a quadruple-double. The first 60-point game in NBA history was done by Joe Fulks on February 10th, 1949. Scored 63 points, 27 for 56 from the field. Wow. That's basically like Kobe's last game of his career, that many shots. And also went 9 for 14 from the free throw line. Had a then record 33 points in one half, 30 in the other. For his career, he had 8,003 points, and he was elected into the Hall of Fame in 1978. The first player to connect on 10 three-pointers in one game. It was done by, former head coach in the NBA, longtime player in the NBA, Brian Shaw. Did it on April 8th, 1993, as a member of the Miami Heat in their 117-92 victory over the Milwaukee Bucks. He finished the game 10 for 15 from downtown, becoming the first player to make 10 three-pointers in one game. It's been done 30 times now, where players hit at least 10 three-pointers in a game. The most ever is 12, done by 3 guys: Stephen Curry, Donyell Marshall, and Kobe Bryant. Each have 12 three-pointers in one game. Now, the first triple-double in NBA history, of course, that means, getting double digits in 3 of the categories rather than the 4 needed to record a quadruple-double. Now, at least according to Harvey J. Pollack's NBA Statistical Yearbook, the first ever triple-double in NBA history, was by another guy who unfortunately passed not too long ago, also in the Hall of Fame. Dolph Schayes did it on February 18th, 1951. Finished with 18 points, 22 rebounds, and 13 assists. Of course, as I mentioned, he is in the Hall of Fame. Great career numbers: 19,247 career points, 11,256 career rebounds, and 3,072 career assists. Hall of Fame numbers, and